You know, can you just focus on driving? Focus on the road. You've had dozens of shrooms, my friend.
Dude, I was able to perform an appendectomy at age 14. I think I can handle a couple mushrooms.
Isn't that just a TV show?
Did you see that unicorn? Its horn was so shiny.
So, Neil, the first Harold and Kumar film,
Yes.
actually, even though it ended up being quite a big deal, it actually didn't do very well at the box office when it came out in theaters. When you were following it, were you depressed at first when it wasn't doing great?
No. It's pointless as an actor to get depressed over the numbers unless, you know, your name's above the title. So we had hoped it was going to be a bigger success, the first film, but circumstances are what they are. I think people are hoping this movie does reasonably well so that they can maybe do a third one.
I think the second one will do better in the first weekend than the overall run of the first one.
We should be so lucky.
Well, when did you get a sense that the first one had taken off?
Well past the launch of the DVD. You know, it was just a year later, people were still coming up and commenting on the movie, that they'd seen it, that they loved it. Then another year would go by, and still people were still talking about it 2 years later. So I thought, this is that kind of movie. This is that kind of stoner, watch it 5 times and still get a kick out of it kind of movie. So that was fun.
Now, I'm not saying you're speaking from experience here, but as people might have said to you over the last couple of years, what is the difference between watching a Harold and Kumar movie stoned and not stoned?
Well, I think the jokes are the toilet humor comedy in the first film, sort of the battle shits and all of that, is probably funnier sober. But then there's a whole other level of riding cheetahs, and they did some really obscure, weird comedy that's probably more hilarious when you're stoned. They played a duality there.
I was pretty ashamed of myself at how hard I was laughing at the battleships sequence in the first movie.
I couldn't believe they filmed it.
I
read it in the script, and that was the one sequence in the script I thought, really? Really?
I hated
Two
myself
hot
for that.
chicks in competing stalls making flatulent sounds, really?
Yeah, but it just worked.
And it's hilarious. Benny Hill, he knew it before we did.
Do you have any other favorite sequences from either of the films?
I think this scene in the second movie where they're smoking pot with George W. is pretty funny, because they got a really interesting ringer. Because he looks and behaves enough like the real president that you totally are paying attention to what they're saying. But he's not so exactly spot on that it's weird.
Right.
Like it's clearly not him, but it's clearly supposed to be him. I like that dynamic.